Evening. This is a public meeting of the Lowell Zoning Board of Appeals for April 23rd, 2012. Before we open up for business, I'd like to introduce our newest member, Melissa Carino. Welcome aboard, Melissa. So moving to the agenda, and before we go to the agenda, just like to remind everyone, if you plan on speaking on behalf of a petition, that you sign in with your name and address at the podium before addressing the board. Under new business, we have ZB 2012-12. Petition type is a, petition is a special permit. The applicant is Robert Grenier. The property is located at 1088 Gorham Street. And the petition is to open a fitness training and coaching facility pursuant to Article 12, Table of Uses of the Zoning Code. The board has received communication from the applicant that they would like to seek a continuance. I'll read into the record the letter we received. Dated April 3rd, Zoning Board of Appeals. We are kindly requesting to add a variance for approving a 7 parking space instead of 29 parking spaces requirement per usage code on 5,800 square feet, Suite 6, 1100 Gorham Street, Lowell, Mass. Proposed use of CrossFit training and coaching business. We are requesting to addendum to existing applications submitted on March 21st, 2012. If for any reason this request can't be added to the April 23rd agenda, could you please move this request to March 21st? If any reason this request can't be added to the April 23rd agenda, can you please move this request and the March 21st, 2012 application agenda to the next Zoning Board of Appeals meeting of May 14th, 2012. And this was signed by Anil Patel. So with that, Mr. Clerk, I'd like to make a motion that we continue this to our meeting, which is on on May 14th.
Through you, Mr. Chairman, I make a motion on ZB 2012-12, special permit at 1088 Gorham Street, to continue to our meeting on May 14, 2012.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
We have a roll call.
Mr. Bailey?
Continue to May 14th.
Mr. Belanger?
Continue to May 14th.
Mr. Ahern?
Continue.
Mr. Perrin?
Continue to May 14th.
Mr. McCarthy?
Continue.
Okay, so that matter has been continued to May 14th. Okay, the next matter before us is ZB 2012-13, and the petition is for a variance. The applicant is Soar Pep. The property is located at 15 Leverett Street. The petition is to install a shed that exceeds height and distance from dwelling unit requirements pursuant to section 4.3.5 and 4.4 of the zoning ordinance. Is Mr. Fepp here? And sir, hopefully I pronounced your name correctly.
Well, I'm his brother. I'm
Well-
Keith Soar.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I'm Mr. Chairman. I'm here on behalf of my brother,
Yes.
and we just asked for a variance. We built a shed, and at my mom's property, which is my brother's property in there. My mom's have a small house with a 2-bedroom and a small kitchen and no living room. My mom have 7 children, including me, 11 grandchildren, and over the weekend we usually come over to see her. Since my mom's by herself now, my dad passed away 3 years ago, and we all just want to come by and visit her over the weekend. And her house is so small, and we need a space. And so I'm talking to my family, my brother and my sister, said that we need some room. So we say, all right, why don't we build something and use the first floor as her storage? She have a lot of stuff that she kept for all of us, and the second floor just a family gathering. The one that we built here, it won't be any living quarter. Nobody gonna live in there we don't have any plumbing, we don't have anything, just electricity going there for TV and stuff like that. And that's what I'm asking for. And we just do this for, you know, my mom, and all of us coming in. We all have our own house, our own place to stay. We just need a place on a weekend and on special occasion that we come over and see my mom. That's all.
So I guess a couple of questions I have. I noticed in the communication from the city, the building or the structure was put up without any consultation with the building department for a building permit. Can you explain what happened there?
Yeah, well, since this is the first project that we actually did, and we talked to the guys that built it before. His name is Billy. He said, well, you know, you build that in your property. You know, I mean, we should consult other person, but he said, you don't really need a permit for that. So I keep asking, you know, it's like, are we gonna build this? First, we're gonna go 1 floor, and on the second floor, we just go on a small pitch. And he said, we don't need a permit for that, because like, only a small, if you're not building a house. So we go in halfway, and we talked to the building inspector, Mr. Fuller. He said, well, no matter what, you still need a permit. That's when we stop everything. We go in for a permit, and we finally got a permit granted by Mr. Fuller.
Did you go see Mr. Fuller, or did Mr. Fuller happen to drive by and?
He stopped by.
And was he just in a neighborhood, or did?
Well, we saw him, he stopped by, and then, you know, he stopped by and talked to us. We talked to him. We don't know if he's there just on that purpose or he's just driving by.
Okay. So I guess what you're telling the board is you started this construction based on no communication with the city. You just took the word of somebody else that you
Yes, sir.
didn't need anything. Okay. And so the intent of the structure is for family gatherings?
That's all we're using for. Just like I said, the first floor, we're gonna just put my mom's storage and stuff, whatever she's gonna put in there. And the second floor, just not all the time. We just like maybe one on the weekend or sometime on special occasion. We all come by for family gathering. And we met the requirement from the fence and requirement from the house already. It's just the problem right now is we build it too high.
So do you understand what the particular zoning is and the requirements for the zoning and what you've put up for a structure?
I do now.
Yep. Okay. Anything else you'd like to add at this point?
Well, just hopefully the board will approve this and will make all of us, you know, my family, my mom's happy.
Okay.
You know, just all we need, just something on the weekend for her.
So what we're going to do now is going to open it up to the public, and then we'll move it to the board. Okay, sir?
Thank you, sir.
Is there anyone here that'd like to speak in favor of this petition? In favor? In favor? Hearing none, that portion of the public hearing is closed. Anyone here that'd like to speak in opposition? 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 Hearing none, that portion of the public hearing is closed. I'd like to open it up to the board. Dennis?
Through you, Mr. Chairman. I went by the site and I saw the structure, and looking at how the first floor is framed, and it doesn't seem to be built like a serious house as far as a full foundation. It just has piers and concrete sonotube kind of construction, so it's really not, I think, built as a substantial building. However, I don't see how we meet the the requirements for a variance here, where we really don't have special hardship, or even I think the height change is almost 50% higher than what's allowed by code, going to 23 feet. So that I think is a substantial degradation to the intent of the zoning. So I'm a little worried about a precedent here with suggesting that this is something that we can possibly grant a variance on. I think it's a sad scenario, and it's hard to see a structure this substantial built without a building permit and without proper zoning. I think that's all I have for comments.
Okay, thank you, Dennis. Kevin?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, I think I share some of Dennis's concerns with the structure as far as how it went originally and not having the permit up front. I understand the confusion maybe that people don't necessarily know how to go about doing so or whether or not they need one, but I guess it goes as a point of notice that people should inquire within the city whenever there's an issue or question of doubt rather than taking somebody else's word for it. So, I mean, my concerns are more going back to what Dennis said as far as the structure itself and the intended use from a safety standpoint of the second floor, as well as the hardship of the needed variance. You know, I'd rather see maybe an enclosed porch or something along those lines might be a better option for family usage versus an exterior shed that doesn't have any utilities or heat or AC, so, or some other type of structure. So I'm not sure how we go around it now that it's a structure that's built now. It's a sad situation. It just doesn't seem to fit the criteria of what we're looking for the area. Those are my comments. Thanks.
Okay, thank you, Kevin. Gary?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, I have a couple of questions for the petitioner. I did go by the site on a couple of occasions. Was there an existing shed there prior to this?
It was there, but smaller though.
And what was the approximate size of that shed?
Uh,
Just a rough idea.
I don't know, 8 by 5 or something. It was at the corner, right in the corner by the house.
And that was used for storage for
It was
home-
storage
home
and everything
products
else,
and
but
items
it's
and such.
it's all run down, so
It's
we
run
knock it
down.
out.
I do share some concerns with the size of the structure and the stability of the framing under the joist structure itself. Are there plans or through your contractor, I guess it would be, you said you're going to be using this for some activity during holidays and special occasions. Is there going to be another door placed on that?
Well, so I said, we don't have any room in the house. We can't do really, there's no room in there. My mom have a small room. It's like half of this side here. I mean, it's like probably a third of this side. She use that as a TV room, a family room, and a small kitchen to the side. So, and for the structure here, it's really secure and sound. We actually go out, bought the LVL beam that go and run from, on the top of the first floor for the second floor. We have LVL beam, everything's all. I mean, the structure is really strong. There's no safety concern on that one.
Okay, I guess my question is if you're gonna have people within that structure, there's one door. And my concern would be, your application is for a shed. And if people are in the dwelling and there's one door, I would have concerns with fire safety. And I guess my other question following that up is, what was the need to put a second floor on?
Like I said, it's just for the family gathering. It's not all the time. Most of the time, that space is going to be empty anyway.
Okay.
It's just in case all of us decide to come by at one time and we have a room for it. But other than that, that place won't be, nobody ever go in there. Besides the first floor that we just use as a storage, my mom's storage.
As it relates to the second floor access, is there a full staircase going to be in there?
Yes, it is.
It's going to be a full staircase?
Yes.
I do have concerns relative to the size of the structure and its intended use, not only at this particular time, but further down the line to grant the variance of this nature to set, as my colleagues have mentioned, to set that precedent moving forward. Was your builder available to come to the meeting tonight?
I can make a phone call, say to come in by. I don't know if they're around.
Was there thought, were any thought, did any thought go into requesting him to come tonight so that?
I asked them if I need them, can they come by to say, oh yeah, just give them a call.
I also hold concerns with the building structures in the city of this nature without
Well, this is
requiring the proper
the
permit.
first guy that started. He's no longer there, so I have another guys coming in. We went up, pull a permit, and the first guy that built it, he wasn't there no more, so I have another guys that coming in to finish it up.
I'm sorry, did you just say you had a building permit originally from the first gentleman?
When we put up the, it's nothing, when we started, just the platform
Yeah,
and the 4 wall,
okay.
we got a permit for that. But when we started, we don't have a permit, but when we stopped that, Mr. Fuller stopped us, then we went apply for a permit. We got a permit to build it, to put up a structure. I have a permit at my house, my mom's house right now, puts on the wall,
Okay,
on the
No.
glass window.
okay. I have no further questions at this time, Mr. Chairman. I'll yield to
Thank
my
you, sir.
colleagues.
Okay,
Thank you.
Gary. So I guess before I move it to Corey, do you have any knowledge of any permits besides the one permit that the board's been told about at that site? Joe?
No, Mr. Chairman, there hasn't been multiple permits issued for this site. There's just the one for the shed that was issued about the beginning of the year time frame. It had started without the benefit of a permit. Mr. Fuller had noticed the property while he was driving by from another inspection in the area. Communicated with the gentleman here tonight that it had started without a permit, and a structure like this needs a permit. And the applicant had come in, filled out the paperwork for a building permit, which was issued.
Okay. Thank you. Corey?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I share much of the concerns as my fellow board members, but Joe, the first, I have a question for you. Now, there's no abutters list attached to the application, and I find it hard to believe with a structure of the size, there's no abutters here this evening in opposition. Was the process done correctly, do you know of? And,
Yeah, a notification was sent out. We received a picture of a sign being posted on the property as well. So the notification did take place.
Okay, all right, well, that was a concern of mine. But I like to echo the same comments as my fellow board members. I mean, this is scary. I mean, I turned that corner today, and I can't believe the size of that structure. And to think that, you know, somebody realized they didn't need a building permit is rather a tough pill to swallow for me. I think it's unfair to the neighbors, and if we would allow this to go through tonight, we're setting a citywide precedent here. I mean, I understand what the family's trying to do. It's a gathering home for all the family, and that's great and all. I like to see that. And the home is well maintained. I spent some time there this afternoon. But I certainly can't sit here and support a structure of that size. I think it's, in all fairness, not a good move for this board to set. And I mean, it's there, unfortunately. It's an unfortunate set of circumstances, and thanks to the good work by the building inspector, who knows what this might have been in the end. I don't want to make accusations, but I can't help but to think. But I would support one level, the structure that's there. I mean, I don't want to cause a huge burden on this family, but I could see one level, but certainly not two. Certainly not two. But that's just me and one vote, but I'm pretty stern on that, and that's how I feel. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Thank you, Corey. Melissa?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I also share the same concerns about the size of the structure. I completely understand what it's being built for. I do agree with my colleague here that one floor would fit the need. I also do have concerns about the fire safety. If it is going to be used as a place for gatherings, that there should be a second egress. And finally, I did have one concern about parking, for a question for the applicant. Is there any parking spaces lost with the current structure as it's built?
No, ma'am, we still have about four car parking in the front,
Okay.
inside the yard, not on the street itself.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Well, sir, I think you've heard pretty much everything that the board members, they have a lot of concerns with this whole project. And I think starting just with the building permit process, obviously, was not followed. And this board isn't here to lay blame on anybody as far as the process went, but if I take a look at what we've been presented with and what our zoning laws ask for, and especially around building permits, I know I can't support this application. I do have, I guess, a question. Joe, I'll direct it to you, but as far as the structure itself, and if this board decides on a denial, what is the avenue now for this petitioner or this family as far as the structure? Who does that fall back to now?
In terms of demolishing the structure or making some kind of
modification or
modifications
something.
to it, the applicant could make modifications to the structure to bring it into compliance with building code and zoning code, even if the board were to deny it. The applicant could still make changes that wouldn't require further or any kind of relief from the board. That would be an option if they were still looking to have some kind of space on the site to either expand the house itself or to have some other kind of use on there.
Okay. And would the department be your particular department, or would it fall to the building department? Is there any feedback?
We would work in conjunction probably with the building inspectors and different project staff that would get together on that.
So, sir, do you understand some of the things we just talked about now? You know, again, I can only stress based on what is presented before us and all the concerns that this board has. I'm trying to, I guess, reach out to your family that if this is denied, that you may have some other recourse that you could pursue, and that's up to you. So I just want to make sure that, you understand that, sir.
Yes.
Okay.
So who should I talk to? Talk to Joe or go back to the building inspector and ask for another avenue?
I think what Joe was suggesting is, his department could work with you or a member of your family if you want to pursue that down the road. Okay, sir?
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so I'd like to have a motion, Mr. Clerk.
Through you, Mr. Chairman. We'll move to ZB 2012-13, a variance at 15 Leverett Street. Make a motion to approve.
And could I have a second?
Second.
We have a roll call.
Mr. Bailey?
Denied.
Mr. Belanger?
Deny.
Mr. Ahern?
Denied.
Mr. Perrin?
Denied.
Mr. McCarthy?
Denied?
Okay, sir. The petition has been denied, but I would highly suggest you might want to work with Joe and his department down the road to see if we can help your family out with this. Okay, sir? Thank you, sir. Okay, our next matter before us is under other business. This is a special permit amendment at 199-211 Plain Street. The applicant is Roger Hirschhorn. The petition, the applicant is seeking a modification to the special permit and variance for ZB 2007-45. The board previously granted approval for internal illumination and excess size for the target connector sign. The sign currently has 4 panel signs for other tenants of the property. The applicant is seeking to add 2 additional panels for future tenants. Would the petitioner like to address the board, please? Thank you.
George Theolides Jr., 133 Market Street, Lowell, and I'm here this evening with Roger Hirschhorn, the applicant.
Okay.
If I may, Mr. Hirschhorn is a principal and the project manager in a company, a new LLC formed to purchase the property adjacent to the Target store. And they have made that purchase, and his company's based in Manhattan, and they specialize in acquiring shopping centers and upgrading them and filling them up and making them, bringing good occupants to the center. I think, I was trying to remember as I sat here, I think Mr. Belanger was the only member of the board, maybe the chairman too. Yes, I'm sorry. I wasn't sure. That's right. When we did the Target application, and if you recall, it probably was not talked about a lot, but Target basically is not in the shopping center ownership and development business. They acquired that center specifically to put their own site there, and that's why, you probably recall, there were really two parcels of land, one beside the other, and it's the one to the right as you're looking at the center that Mr. Hirschhorn's company has acquired and is in the process of working on. What he's doing is making a vast improvement, I think, to the shopping center by virtue of the fact that he's gone out and not only acquired the center itself, but acquired some railroad land to the rear, the right rear of the property, as it comes to a point. I think you're familiar with that. And we will now have access to the entire rear of the building, and there'll also be parking there as well. So two big pluses. Number one, more parking spaces, and number two, better traffic access and movement. They acquired the property in December of 2011, and what they've been doing is going over the entire project and lining up what they'd like to do, and shortly we'll be bringing the entire site plan project to the planning board. But in the and by the way, he's already worked with the Conservation Commission to try to work on cleaning up what I call the mess that separates the area between the connector and the shopping center itself. I think you probably are aware of the fact that creates a huge blockage. I mean, if you're not familiar with the city of Lowell and that particular area, you barely know there's a shopping center there. I should point out that at the time that Target did their permit for signage, they only had a commitment and a need for 4 signs. What's happened here is, and I'm going to ask the board to give Mr. Hirschhorn, I'm sure you'd like to hear what he has in mind. There are at least 3 new stores that he's already lined up, and these are multi-state good retailers that he will be bringing in. But 2 of them have already made as a condition precedent to their coming in that they get on a signpost so that they can be seen. And that's why it's so critically important to him at this time to be able to close the deal with these people. I'll let him describe to you who they are, and I think they're going to be wonderful additions to the city. As you know, the trees and the brush and the whatever mess that I referred to before goes a long way to blocking that center, and that's why, in the first instance, this board, in its wisdom, allowed the Target people to put a 120-foot sign up. That's quite unusual. We all know that. But as we also know, when you drive by without that sign, you barely would even know the place is there. It's important to the prospective tenants that they be able to put the 2 additional signs up there. As Mr. Jenowitz has clearly pointed out to you in his memo to the board, you have the power to grant this modification so long as you find it's not a material change, and that it's something that will not be detrimental. I think that's clear, or difficult, or have an adverse effect on the neighborhood. So I would ask you to please consider and make that modification. As Mr. Jenowitz has pointed out, you have the power to do, and I think he even gives you the necessary language on the back part of his application. So I think I tried to give you the short version tonight, and I'm going to give you if I can, I want to introduce Mr. Hirschhorn to you. Is that okay, Mr. Chairman, to let him
Absolutely.
let you know who he is and what he'd like to do?
Okay, thank you. Evening, sir.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. As Mr. Eliades stated, we purchased the center in December 2011 from Target. We've been leasing the center up. I'd say when we bought it was probably 60% or so vacant. I'd say we're probably about 97% leased now. 2 of the leases are conditioned on getting the additional signage. What we planned, I'll run through the tenants if you're interested in knowing who's planning on coming in, but in addition to re-tenanting the center, we're going to be renovating the entire facade, that whole blue standing seams coming off, a new drive and a new pane and new standing seam to better match the Target colors and the Target architecture. The tenants, and they're not all 100% signed, there's a couple sitting on my desk waiting for signature. The tenants that are coming in is in the Blockbuster space is going to be Sleepy's, GNC, and Hair Cuttery. Best Fitness is Chuck E. Cheese is expanding into the former Isabella's. In the Bally's space, Best Fitness is taking a chunk of the former Bally's, and Five Below, which is one of the tenants that's conditioning their deal, getting representation on the pylon sign, is taking another piece of the former Bally's. And then in the building that's between Lincoln Tech and Marshall's, I have Dots coming in, the Children's Place, Eblin's, and there's a small 2,000 square foot vacancy that I'm still looking for a tenant for. As Mr. Eliades says, we've met with the Conservation Commission twice now. We have started working on extending the road behind Marshall's so that there's full circulation around the entire site. And that's our plan.
Right, right. So you mentioned you anticipate you're going before planning also, is that?
For site plan review.
Okay.
Because of the new parking that we're doing to the rear. And we're also contemplating the possibility of a new 4,000 square foot building towards the connector.
Oh, okay.
Mr. Hirschhorn has big plans. He's getting very aggressive about this, and
So
I think
maybe
it's
you'll be
great.
before us again.
Very possibly.
Well, the application, I think, before the planning board is 100% conforming, and I don't
Without
think there are any
variance
variances.
necessity,
Yep.
right?
Okay. Anything else you want to add at this point? So as far as the signage itself, based on the submittals, it looks like everything will be as is, the addition of the 2 new signs, correct?
Correct.
Everything is based on what we received this evening. Everything will look the same, you're just adding 2 new signs. There's
Correct.
no other changes that,
I think they're beefing up the structure a little bit, that's all.
Yep.
But
okay,
Ground supports.
okay. Anything else you want to add at this point? Okay, I'm going to open it up to the public. Anyone here like to speak in favor of this petition? In favor, in favor? Hearing none, that portion of the public hearing is closed. Anyone here that like to speak in opposition? Opposition, opposition? Hearing none, that portion of the public hearing is closed. I'd like to open it up to the board. Dennis?
3, Mr. Chairman. I've got a couple questions. I'm excited to see, as a resident of Lowell, this retail center being fully leased. And I've always thought it was a great location, and to hear that there's going to be 9 tenants as well as Target, and then maybe an additional building is great. So that's great news. Viewing that pylon sign, it's hard to see anything but the Target when you're coming in. I'm just surprised that you're going even lower than the existing sign bands, because I know the tree line there between your property and the connector is substantial, which is very nice to screen parking, but you don't see the retail and you may not see the signage. So I was just wondering how you are expecting to overcome that issue, if you have any thoughts on that.
First of all, I like the way you think, Mr. McCarthy, if you're thinking we should go with a higher sign, but that, I'll let Roger answer that part of the question.
Well, one of the things that Mr. Leidy's pointed out, and we went before the Conservation Commission, is that we're trying to clean up. There's a lot of invasives, overgrown plantings there. I hope that's going to help. The tenants who have conditioned coming to the center, you know, I can't tell you how they viewed it, but they believe that they can be seen. Certainly in 8 months out of the year, it can be seen. So we're talking about the summer months where it's problematic. And I think as you get closer to the sign structure, and frankly, I can't tell you if it's before or after the exit because I can't remember right now, you see it. And, you know, I think it's also, you know, partly advertising for those tenants and, you know, building awareness to the customer. Even if you miss the exit the first time, you know, it'll build awareness that they're in the center.
One other question, the monument sign, as you arrive at the site on Plain Street, is for 4 tenants. And so we're looking at 6 tenant signs and the target sign on the pylon sign. Is there any disconnect? I'm just thinking, why isn't there 6 tenants on the monument sign? That's not part of your agreement with your tenants, or?
That's correct.
Okay.
And it was, you know, it was a hard fight with some of the tenants. And, you know, pylon signage, both monument and pylon, is important to all these national tenants. And there are some tenants that I got to agree to go on the monument sign because I could not offer them a spot on the pylon sign. So not everybody on the pylon is going to be on the monument, and vice versa.
I understand. It does seem like what you're asking for is substantial change to what was previously approved, where you're asking for a 33% increase in the tenant signs. So I think that what we're doing here makes some sense. So thank you very much. I have no further questions.
Thank you, Dennis. Kevin?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, I echo Dennis's thoughts. I think it's an exciting project for you guys to be undertaking. It's a tough area over there, but I think bringing up the facade of the building to match Target and what they've done, I think their building looks great. I think that's been an underused area as it is now, so it's exciting. Some of those tenants are obviously well-known national tenants, or realtors, I should say, retailers, I should say. So that's exciting to have them come in. It seems like there's a good breadth of different tenants that you have there, which I think will be good as far as pulling people from outside the area and adding to the tax base as well. So that being said, I actually was of the different belief. I didn't think it was a substantial change to the sign, although I think the Target sign is a second moon for the city of Lowell. It's a bright sign that you can see for miles around, whether that's good or bad. And I just thought adding the 2 tenant signs below would be not that big of a change to me, although the percentage is high versus the other 4 tenant signs. So those are my thoughts on it. Thanks.
Thank you, Kevin. Gary?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, I certainly echo my colleagues' remarks in regards to the upgrades and the increased tenant lot over in that area, and also the upgrade to the dark blue facade that's been sorely placed over there for many years. I do look forward to that as well. Just as it relates to 2 points, the monument sign, and you said there's actually just 4 tenants now that are contractually bound to that, and you have no intention moving forward to come before us for any amendment to that sign?
That's correct.
Okay.
The monument sign, I do not intend to expand at all.
Okay. And as it relates to the, what I'll refer to as the landscape buffer, and it is in haste out there and doesn't need some repair, and I appreciate the fact that you're moving forward on your own to take care of that. You did mention there was some overgrowth there. My only concern is, I'll refer to it as thinning or cleaning the area. My only concern is that it's not leveled. You said there was some invasive plant life there. Obviously, there's a myriad of trees and overgrown shrubs. I just want to be, known on the record that it's going to be the removal and thinning of invasive plants, and that it's not, struck down to guardrail or lower, much lower thinning process. Because obviously you need some sort of buffer there. That's,
Thinning process.
yeah.
Yeah,
It's just,
we went to the Conservation Commission,
Yeah.
and we are, and subsequent to getting an approval to thin it out, we had a meeting with the Conservation Commission and the landscape contractor, and the agreement was, we were limited to not more than 50% of thinning, of only in basis. I mean, there are some native plants there also that aren't being touched. And if it is greater than 50%, we had to go back to staff with a replanting plan. And we're in the middle of that right now. Nothing's happened since the walk with staff a week and a half ago or 2 weeks ago.
great. No, I'm glad to hear that. I just kind of wanted to get, just a tidbit of what the Conservation Commission, where you're heading there. So I think it's a great project. I wish you well, and I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Gary. Corey?
Yes, through you, Mr. Chairman. I'm in agreement with my colleagues. I think this is just tremendous what's going on here. This is exactly what I envisioned, as Mr. Eliade said many, many months ago when I supported Target, and everything's going as planned. And when I hear Sleepy's and Five Below and GNC, these stores that are synonymous with Nashua, New Hampshire or Burlington, and here they are coming to Lowell. So it's very, very exciting. It's also going to be, an impressive string of stores. You're driving down the Lowell Connector for many, many travelers to see some, national outlets here in the city, which is great. So it's outstanding. I'm very, very pleased what's going on there, and I'm here to assist you, so I do support it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Corey. Melissa?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I also want to just say that I appreciate all the work you're doing, and that space or that parcel is getting, based on your plans, is going to reach its best potential. Regarding the signage, though, I do have to agree that it is a significant change or substantial change, because my understanding is that the current signage that stands there now is significantly greater than what's allowed in the zoning ordinance. Obviously, I understand it was made for, to be recognized, to be a gateway to the city of Lowell. And so I guess my biggest concern is if we are adding more, as I think one of my colleagues said, 33% increase of signage, I'm really interested in hearing what the abutters and the neighborhood might have to say about the additional signage. So I would actually recommend that we do say that it is a substantial change and that we do have a public hearing about it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So I guess this is one of the things we have to talk about, whether the proposal is substantial in nature. Correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Laddies, but I believe you believe or you don't believe it's substantial in nature.
I don't believe it's substantial because if you look at the entire project and the entire process and whatever, and I understand that on the one hand, it's two new pieces of equipment that go up on the signboard there, but first of all, it isn't in a neighborhood by any means, as tall as it is. Certainly, the addition of two signs on the lower level are not going to have any adverse effect to anybody in the area in terms of viewing. Secondly, I think if you look at the signpost itself, it's the kind of a signpost that probably anticipated it. And maybe I didn't make it clear enough when I talked about the Target situation in the first instance. Probably the bluntest, best way to say it was they only did what they needed for those people at that time. And what I think is the addition here is not a substantial change. It's not anything out of the ordinary. It's not anything that I think, again, I'll say is not anything that's detrimental to the neighborhood. So I would ask you because, and I think I should make this point again clear, I'm sensitive to what Mr. McCarthy said, but please let me repeat that from Mr. Hirschhorn's standpoint, the issue of whether or not he can move forward and assure to prospective tenants that they will have those signs is very important to him.
Sure. Okay. So, do I have anything else from any other board members before
Yeah,
forward? Yep.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. I would like to comment that I don't feel it's substantial enough change to trigger a public hearing on this. We're talking about, national change coming into the city, spending millions and millions of dollars, and I don't want to hold this process up. I believe it's visible for mostly people from the connector. I don't think it's adversely affecting any of the abutting neighborhood. The neighborhood, in fact, was very supportive of Target at the time. So, no, I really don't want to hold this up, but I'm only one vote, Mr. Chairman. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else have any comments? Yes, Dennis?
I'd just like to point out that it's over 100 square feet that we're talking about as far as the change here, so just to put an area on that, that's more than, usual signs that we have variances on. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So, I guess, as far as I feel, and I believe the applicant answered my questions, whether are we talking the same size and type of sign going up? We're adding 2 new signs. I don't believe it's substantial material change also. I think that plaza has worked very well, and now if we're looking at bringing in more tenants, and also, this board, and Joe knows this, whether he wants to be accompanied to it or not, but, signs in general with this board are always a challenge, and for various reasons. But, I predominantly see that Target sign with the tenants that will be there. It's just indicating who's there, and if there's a name recognition of why they're there, that's fine. I'm not going to speak for each of the companies coming in there, but I think the intent of that particular sign, based on its height, there's a lot of good reasons why we determine the height requirement and approve that as a board. So with that said, Mr. Clerk, I'd like to have a motion, please.
Through you, Mr. Chairman, in the matter before us, in CB 2007-45, special permit amendment and variance on 199 and 211 Plain Street, I make a motion to approve. I make a motion stating that the amendment is not a substantial material change to the overall proposal. I make a motion to amend the previously granted special permit and variance for ZB 2007 as presented tonight.
I have a second.
Second.
I have a roll call.
Mr. Bailey?
Approved.
Mr. Belanger?
Approve.
Mr. Hearn?
Approve.
Mr. Perrin?
Approved.
Mr. McCarthy?
Approved?
Okay, Mr. Leides, you've been approved by this board, and wish you the best of luck.
We thank you all very much.
Yep, thank you very much. Okay, with no other business, we'd like to move to approve the minutes of the meeting of April 9th, 2012. Have any comments for any of the members? Hearing none, I'd like to have a motion.
Make a motion to approve the minutes.
I have a second.
Second?
I have a roll call.
Mr. Bailey?
Approved.
Mr. Belanger?
Approve.
Mr. Hearn?
Approve.
Mr. Perrin?
Approved.
Mr. McCarthy?
Approved?
Okay, the minute's been approved. Any other comments? Hearing none, I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn, Mr. Chairman.
I'll
Everybody
second.
all set? Adjourn. Don't everybody jump in at once.